Welcome to this video tutorial for Affinity Photo, which is looking at adding a word cloud and using a word cloud on your portrait images. I'm going to have to split this over two videos, but the introduction will be the same for both. This originally started from a magazine tutorial which I saw, which added the word cloud over half a face like this one, and then I slightly adapted that to put the text behind rather than on the face. And the last one is an adaptation of a couple of Photoshop tutorials where we're using the word cloud over the sort of the whole of the image. I personally think this is the better version. I'm not a big fan of either of these, but I will show how I got to them in case you want to use that. So coming to the internet, so we're gonna the introduction is looking at making the word clouds. Now in the magazine article and in a couple of other videos I've watched, they recommend using Wordle, which is just wordle.net. A couple of videos I've watched, they do admit that there is some problems with this website, that some people can't use it. I am one of those people. My browsers will either not touch it or my firewall blocks it. I can get to a certain point and then it just won't make the word cloud. And I'm not going to turn off my exceptions from my firewall just to be able to use this. But you may not have a problem with it, and as the magazines and whatever you recommend it, I'm guessing it is one of the better ones, but I personally can't use it, so I'm going to ignore it. So the two I'm going to show you are wordart.com and wordclouds.com. I will add links to both of these in the description for the videos. So let's start with wordclouds.com. Right, you have all the options along the top here, and it's got first time user, use our wizard. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on type or paste text, and I've got some text here. I'll just copy that, and then I will paste that into this box here, and then just click apply. And the next part of the wizard, it does, you can read this and see what it says, but I'll just close that. So as you can see, it's just already made up a word cloud here, but as also you can see up here, there are 12 words that have not been drawn, but I'll come back to that later. So the first thing I want to do is to change the font. So I'm going to go with Arial, and you may have noticed that I've used all capitals. The videos and magazine article both said that it's best to use capitals rather than upper and lowercase, so that is what I have done, and I think it works quite well. Next I'm going to go with let's go with shape. There's various shapes you can pick. Let's say for example this Christmas tree. If I click on that, it will try and fit those words into a Christmas tree shape, but for my purposes I'm going to go with a square. So this has now brought this to 5 words not drawn. Right, so next we're going to have a theme. Now this is just the colour themes here. So I'm going to click on the grey on a white background, but I do actually want this to be white on a black background. You can invert this, which I thought it would invert the colours, but it's inverted where the letters are placed. So I'm going to have to physically change the colours. So I'll come to colours, and here we've got the white background and the grey text. So what I'll do is I'll click on this grey area, then click on the white box, and then come to the background and click on the black box, and then click apply. So now I have my white text on a black background. So that's the font, theme, shape done. And then we have gap size. Now it starts off at 0. That's just how much space is between the different words. Let's try it on 10. So there's a bit more space between the words. Sometimes this is helpful because sometimes if there's like 0 space between words, you could end up having 2 words joining together that make up another word, and people may think you've misspelt something or you're trying to say something different. But if there's a bit of space between the words, that's less likely to happen, but you could leave it on 0. And then the last one is this round arrow here. If I click on that, you can pick on whether you want them all to be horizontal or vertical, or horizontal and diagonal, or just randomize them, which is what it's currently set on. But I'm going to go with horizontal and vertical. So we've now got most of this finished. All we need now, we've got 7 words that are not drawn. Now this is where this slider comes in. You can move it left and right. If I move this down, say like -13, there's now 4 words not drawn. -17, 1 word not drawn. Let's try. See, the difference between -17, there was 1 word not drawn. I've gone to -18, and it's 4 words not drawn. So it's a case of, okay, I've got to -21. So now all the words that I placed in there are drawn within that square. I mean, at this point you may want to close the gap slightly. Let's try move this down to 8. Yeah, see, because we've now gone back to 1 word not being drawn. Let me put that back to 10. Right, so once you're happy with the end result here, you just come to File and save as PNG. So this is the look at wordcloud.com finished. Let's have a look at word art. Now just click on the create now. Now with word art you can do a free word cloud, but there are some restrictions. If you want to sort of sign up and pay a bit, I'm not certain how much it is, you then don't have any restrictions, but I'm going to work with just the free version. It starts off with 2 words already inserted, and if I just click on visualize, that was a word cloud made up with just those 2 words. But I don't want those 2 words, so I'm going to just remove them. And unfortunately I can't just paste in a whole loads of words. You have to put in each one individually. So I've got caps lock on still, so I'll go with, and then add another one. This is where you need to keep an eye on your spelling. Right, so I've got 5. I'm not going to keep going doing more, but I'm going to start with these 5. So if you want, you could just go to visualize now and see what that looks like. So this is the words tab, and underneath here you've got some more tabs. So let's go with shapes. Now you've got all sorts of different shapes here. that you can try and fit it into. Let's try look at this ghost one and then go to visualize and see what that does. So there you have that image, but I'm going to go with geometric and I'm going to pick a square. So then I'm going to come to the font. Now the free version, you're only allowed a certain amount of fonts. If you sign up, you'll be allowed all these other fonts, but I'm just going to go with this one here, and then I'm going to go with layout. Now you could have them all vertical or random or what have you, but I'm going to go with the horizontal vertical option again. And the last tab is the style, which is where the colours we're going to pick. So I'm going to click on custom and just going to click on one of those coloured options there, and I'm going to just click on each one to remove them, and then I'm going to move this up here to the white corner. There you go, FFFF is white, and then click add to palette and close that. And then I'm going to change the background colour down to black. If it will let me, I'll just click on the square there and then apply. So I now have the black background with the white text. So that's all my various options picked, and I'm just going to go with visualize. And there we have word cloud made in a square, and it has randomly made them all different sizes using the same amount of words. So then all you've got to do is hang on, not save, let's cancel, download. You can download as a standard PNG or standard JPEG. If you want to come for these like better quality ones, you will have to sort of sign up and pay for these, but if you just go for the standard PNG, it will save that file for you. So that is a look at making the word clouds. So the next part will be the actual tutorials for the different options that you can do. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next part. Welcome to part 2 of 2 videos looking at making a word cloud image, a portrait image like this one here, and if you watch the introduction for this video, you will see that I use word clouds from 2 different websites, and I'm going to be using the one from Word Art, and this is the word cloud I'm going to use. I personally think this Word Art word cloud is better than the other one I use. I can't remember the website off the top of my head, but this one here, you have to enter the words on like one at a time, but I would suggest that you add more and more words. The more words you add, the less repetition you will get in the various placements of words that this website adds. So the more words you add, I think the better it will look. So coming back to my start image, which is of me, unfortunately you'll have to look at me all the way through this video. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the selection brush tool, which is this one here. Make sure that I'm on add. I'm just going to resize the brush quickly and then just make a quick selection. Just reduce the brush size a bit. Alright. all of it at me. Now I just need to subtract a few bits. And I think just there. And this little bit here. And then one last, come back and add just that little bit there. So what I want to do now is just press Control and J. Actually, it's not going to do. Why is it not doing that? Yes. Alright, sorry about that. I don't know why it didn't do it, but Control and J to duplicate this selection. And if I just turn off the background here, you can see that it is just that layer that has been made up of the selection. I'll just turn the background back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate again. In fact, I can turn off the selection now. I'll press Control and D to get rid of the selection area, and I will duplicate that selected layer once more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this first one. I may not end up using it. This is just there if I want to have a look later, see if I want to add some colour. It is really just this layer that I'm going to be starting work from. Now I do want to just point out that when I made this first image, I wasn't making great notes. I was sort of mixing and matching two Photoshop tutorials together, and I haven't quite yet been able to redo this image. I've got close, but I haven't actually replicated it again. But we will try it once more. The first thing I'm going to do is add an adjustment layer to this top layer here, and the adjustment I'm going to add is black and white. I'm not going to make any alterations here. I'm just going to merge that down, so this is now a black and white layer. And then I'm going to highlight the bottom layer, and I'm going to add a blank pixel layer just above that, and then I'm going to flood fill that with black. I'm going to use the flood fill tool, make sure black is the foreground colour, and then just click on that. So we've now got the black background, and I'll come back to the top image. And I would say at this point, if you haven't already done this, it would be to crop your image so that so basically you've only really got the face in the center of the image, and you're not sort of got a lot of wasted space around the outside. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate this layer, this black and white layer, once more. Now I'm not 100% certain whether this step is necessary. It's been in a couple of the Photoshop tutorials that I've looked at, and it helps with the Photoshop's way of using displace maps, which is what we're going to be using. But I don't think Affinity Photo uses displace in quite the same way, but I've kept the step in just in case it is having more effect than I think it is. So with the duplicate of this black and white copy, we're going to come to Filter, Blur and Gaussian Blur, and have it at about 4 or 5 pixels, and just click Apply. And then we're going to add a levels adjustment, and we're just going to make this, I'm going to just move the gamma slider and the black level slider just slightly to the right, just to make this blurred layer a bit more contrasty. There's more blacks, there's more whites in the image, so that when the displacement is added, it has something to actually sort of wrap around. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'll just click merge, and then what I'll do is I'll rename this one Displacement, just so I know that this is the layer that has got the blur and the altered levels adjustment to it. Now it is at this point that I would suggest that you save your progress so far as an AF photo file, which is just basically come into File and then Save As. Just in case later steps go wrong, you can always come back to this point and sort of try again. I've had some minor mishaps with my practice runs, and hopefully I've smoothed them all out, but to be on the safe side I would say to save at this point so you have a place to fall back to. Right, so moving on, we now have our word cloud image, so I'm going to right click this and copy it, or you can do Control and C, come back to my portrait image. Let me come off this tool for a second, and I'm going to come to Edit and Paste. Now I come to the Move tool. I'll just move this into the center of the picture here. As you can see, we still have the black background here, so I'm going to change the blend mode to screen. You can possibly use one of the other ones in that sort of area, but screen should be the adequate one to use. So a bit like the first video, we're now going to be duplicating this word cloud image all over the picture to cover the whole picture. Now one thing I will say is the fact that, as you can see here, because it's on the lighter part of the skin here, it's quite bright, and it's obviously a bit brighter with the black background. But I have found if you've put too much on the skin area, it does sort of hide some of the displacement effect and the sort of the facial images coming through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold down the Control key, and I'm going to fill the main area of the face, and I'm not going to sort of put too much extra over the top of this area, so most of these letters will be visible a lot easier. You may want to add more, I will leave that up to you. So we now just need to duplicate this layer a few more times. You can do this either by right clicking the layer and come into duplicate, or you can press Control and J, or if you're going to do a lot of duplicating like we're going to do, and this might be a case of easier just to hold down the Control key and then click and drag out a new version, and from this you can resize. Again, hold down the Control key, come to one of the corners and resize it. You can rotate it by using this handle at the top here. Now I would suggest when you rotate you hold down the Shift key so it sort of goes around in like 15-degree steps, and that way you can sort of make precise adjustments. And I'm going to rotate this towards the right so that when it is rotated, these letters that are now going vertically will read correctly horizontally. So I'm just going to move that round to there, and then I'm going to use the arrow keys just to nudge it up to the edges like that. and then I'm just going to hold down the control key and move that up to that corner. Like so. Hold down the control key again, move that over, hold down the shift key to rotate this, and then just use the arrow keys, get it in position, and then hold down the control key again. I'm going to put it down in this corner, and then so let's pick this one. I'm going to hold down the control key, put it down the bottom here, but I'm going to reduce the size of this one a bit. Go to about there. Right. I'm not so worried about overlapping these a bit more. Right, so that one's okay. Hold down the control key and put one there, but rotate this one that way. And then just put a copy there, and put a copy here, and rotate this one. Right, one more. Let's pick this one, and just place it at the top here. Yeah, like that. So it's just a case now of just nudging a few over that aren't going up to the edge as much as I would like. Just using the arrow keys to do that. Alright, that one there still got a and that one. Right, it's just a bit of fine tuning and tinkering. Right, yes, I think I'm happy with that now. So I have all these layers. So I'm going to highlight the top layer of these text layers, hold down the shift key and highlight the bottom one, and when they're all selected I'm going to right click and group them together so they're now all in a group. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just hide all these layers below the group that I've just made, and then I'm going to right click this group and I'm going to do merge visible, and as that is the only visible layer that is open, it will make a single layer with all those text layers on them. So I don't need this group now. You can hide it, delete it, but I'm going to put it down here just in case I need it at some later date, and hide it, and then turn back on all the other previously hidden layers, and with the top layer highlighted, because it's in normal mode you can't see the other layers underneath, so I'm going to change this to screen, or in fact what I will do is probably, oh no, sorry, it's multiply. You can work your way through all the various blend modes to see which one works for your personal taste. I think multiply is going to be the best choice. Overlay is not too bad. Obviously some would be better than others. I mean, that one could be quite an interesting effect depending on your image you're using, but I'm going to go with multiply. So now we're going to add the displacement. So this text will now hopefully sort of wrap around the features of the face a bit more than it does now, which is not, obviously it doesn't because it's a flat image, but it will give the impression that it is wrapping around the image. So with the text layer highlighted, you come up to filters, distort, and down to displace. Now by default it always seems to start at 10 pixels, and we want it to be about somewhere between 10 and maybe 20 pixels. But first of all we need to click on the load map from layers beneath, and you can move the slider left or right, but if I move it all the way to the right, hopefully you can see that if I go a bit too far, you can see that text layer is breaking up, or you can displace it the other direction. So I'm going to type in 20, so it's easier than try and get it to where I want it by moving the slider. So hopefully this will now start to look like it's wrapping around the facial features. I'll just click again on load maps from layers beneath just in case it has come off of there for some reason, and then click apply. So hopefully if I zoom in now, we have a look, it will sort of give the impression that it is going around, the words are going around the face rather than just a plain flat image. So hopefully you can see it sort of looks like it's going over the nose a bit. Now Displace in Affinity Photo probably doesn't work as well as it does in Photoshop, or maybe I'm just doing something wrong, but that is pretty much the finish of this tutorial. Now you could, if you wanted to, maybe if I turn off this displacement layer where there was blur added, you will have a much crisper image underneath, which is why I'm not sure that using the blur with Affinity Photos displacement is doing what it should do, like it does in the Photoshop tutorials. But you may prefer it. I will leave that up to you as to which version you prefer. Similarly, you could turn that off and turn on the color version. Now, as I said, I would just see whether that worked or not. You could have it in color or black and white, it's up to you. So let's go back with the black and white non-blurred layer. You could, if you want, duplicate that and then change its blend mode, possibly to screen maybe, just to make it a much brighter text. Multiply, make it a bit darker. So you could tinker with various blend modes if you do add another copy. See, soft light is not too bad, but I'll go back to screen. Where's screen? There, just to make it a bit brighter. So basically that would be the end of that. If you wanted to sort of add some text into the background, again I would save this at this point or export it. The more I look at that, the more I don't like that extra brightness of the text, so I'll take that, hide that one, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this text into the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this text layer, and I'm then going to Let me just make this one visible. Oh no, this one's already visible. I can use this one here. I'm going to put the cursor over the icon, hold down the control key and double click, and it will give me the selection area once again. And I'm going to invert that selection, come up to the select menu and invert pixel selection, and with this pixel image text layer, I'm just going to add a layer mask, then press Ctrl and D to get rid of that selection, and then it's just a case of changing the blend mode of changes it back to normal, and then lowering its opacity down quite a bit, so it's only just in the background, sort of maybe 3%, so there's just a hint of text in the background. You may like that added bit of text in the background, or you may not. Again, that is a personal choice. So that is without that text in the background, and that's with the slight hint of the text in the background. So that is the end of the tutorial. I know it's not quite as good as I've seen in the Photoshop tutorials. That might be down to, well, I'm guessing it's down to me and my lack of abilities, rather than the lack of Affinity Photo to duplicate the same things I've seen in Photoshop tutorials. But this is as close as I've been able to get, so hopefully somebody will improve on my ideas and make a better video for you. So thank you for watching, and I'm sorry it's not as good as it could be.